Howzit here, welcome back to the channel, and this is the newly announced global version of the Redmi Note 11S. Xiaomi also announced global versions of the base Note 11, along with the Note 11 Pro and Note 11 Pro 5G. So 11S sits right in the middle of that whole lineup there, and this is going to cost about $249 to $299 depending on the memory and storage configurations that you get, which ranges from 6 to 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs to 256 gigs of storage. And so this is going to come with the MediaTek Helio G96 chipset, which is not bad. I've used the previous version of that chipset in some previous Redmi Note phones, and it's been perfectly fine at this price point. It supports 33 watt fast charging with the charger in the box, no wireless charging. It does have a full HD AMOLED display at 90 Hz refresh rate, and it gets pretty bright up to 1000 nits. Usually a lot of phones in this price range are pretty dim and tough to see outside, somewhere around the range of 400 nits. And this also comes with a quad camera setup on the rear featuring a 108 megapixel sensor, which is I believe the Samsung HM2 sensor, which is also found on their higher end Xiaomi 11T, also on some previous Redmi Note phones as well. So camera system, or at least the main camera, should be pretty good. But as you can see here, this is the global version. You can see it supports the Google Apps out of the box. And so let's go ahead and crack this thing open here. And first on top, you're gonna have the usual stuff. You can see powered by Redmi. This will probably be a case and some of the paperwork. So let's take a look at there. You have your SIM tool, and then as expected, you've got, let's see, looks like a screen protector. Pretty basic one, but at least they give you one in the box. And you've got your paperwork like I was suspecting, quick start guides, all that good stuff, warranty card, safety information. So if you want, you can go ahead and read all that information. And we also have a case. So they typically give cases with these types of phones, which is nice. It is just a basic TPU style case, but it is nice that they give you one. And this one even has a flap on the bottom to protect that USB port. So we'll put that in the phone a little bit later. Let's get to the phone itself. So you can see there all the specs I just pretty much went over. We'll keep that here. And you do get, like I said, the fast 33 watt charging brick in the box, along with your Type-C charging cable. So pretty decent setup there. And let's go ahead and check out the phone itself here. So let's go ahead and take off the wrapping. And then let's take off this sticker here, and we can check out the phone itself. So there it is. So this is the black version. It comes in a blue and I think a white as well. So nice matte back there. So it's not a shiny glossy. It's got that matte finish. Looks pretty nice there. And you've got the flat sides. So you can see here, this is the power button volume rocker. Flat sides, not curved. And then on the bottom, you have your speaker, Type-C port, as well as microphone. And then on your left-hand side, you just got your SIM card slot. And then you've got a headphone jack up top. So you do get a headphone jack, the other speaker port, as well as an infrared blaster. So you get the IR blaster and a secondary microphone. And then on the rear, that is your quad camera setup on the rear. It's pretty much just a dual camera system. Two of these cameras are a 2 megapixel macro and depth sensor. The other two, like I said, is the main 108 megapixel Samsung HM2 sensor, along with a 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor as well. That's a 118 degree field of view. So I'm going to power this on and set it up, and we'll come back and take a closer look. All right, so I've just gone through the setup process, and there you can see the quad camera setup on the rear with that 108 megapixel stamp AI camera on the bottom. And some specs I didn't mention or may not have mentioned to begin with. This does have a large 5000 milliamp hour battery. It has an IP53 rating for splash resistance, and it also has Gorilla Glass on the front here. And so I've gone through the security and biometric setup, so we'll test out the fingerprints and the face unlock, which is pretty fast. So I've set up my middle finger here on my left hand, so you can easily tap the fingerprint scanner that's in the power button there. And you can see it opens up pretty quickly right there. And I've also done my right thumb, so we'll test that. And you don't have to press in the button. You can just rest your finger on it and it'll unlock the phone just like that. So pretty quick unlock with the fingerprint scanners. And then we'll test out the face unlock. I didn't register this finger, so we'll just turn on the display. You can see it unlocked immediately. So I'll just keep it away from my face and I'll look at it. You can see it unlocks immediately. While staring at it, it pretty much immediately unlocks. So face unlock, also very quick on this phone. You can see here, this is how it comes out of the box. I didn't do any kind of setup. I didn't install anything. These are all the apps and what it looks like straight out of the box here. You can see here, you do have to select app tray if you want your app tray. Otherwise, there's going to be a grid of icons. But you can see everything that comes pre-installed. Fairly stock. You do have your Facebook here, which is some bloatware, LinkedIn, Netflix, but most people may want Netflix. They have PUBG there, Spotify, and an Office suite, Word docs, all that kind of stuff. So fairly minimal as far as bloatware, and has a bunch of stock apps. You did see Amazon and AliExpress as well there. And of course, you do have your standard button set up at the bottom. You can swap that to gestures, which we'll get to. You do have the Google feed here to the left. So it has a stock-ish feel, even though this is MIUI 13 based off of Android 11. And it does have that MIUI kind of swipe down control panel, which is also configurable. We'll change that out to be more stock Android-like. But if you swipe down from the right, it gives you this kind of iOS-looking kind of control panel. To get to your notification shade, you swipe down from the left, and that's where you get your notifications. If we check out the home screen settings, there's your widgets and how you get to all that stuff. You do have some home screen settings, so let's move it to 5x6 grid of icons to maximize the real estate there. And then you can change things like basic transition effects, etc. But you also have wallpapers, so this basically takes you to their MIUI 13 theme store. So you do have some themes that you can go ahead and check through. Some free themes. I think there are some paid themes in here. You can theme out your device, but these are the kind of wallpapers that you have in their wallpaper store. Let's go ahead and maybe pick one. So let's scroll through all this stuff and see what they got. Maybe let's go pick a scenic one just to change it up off the main wallpaper for now. But you can see, just to give you a feel for the variety that they have here, we can go ahead and maybe pick this one, and we'll use that, apply that, and we'll go to both. And just to kind of change up the look for now. So that's kind of what that looks like here. And it's a very bright display. Like I said, it's 700 nits, max 1000. So that's very good. I don't think you're going to have problems seeing this outdoors at 1000 max nits with your AMOLED display. Previous versions of this, and I think the ones released in China, are LCD. And previous versions were much dimmer displays, somewhere around like 400, 450. And those were tough to see outside. So I think it's really good. You're getting a really nice, bright AMOLED display here. Viewing content on it's going to look pretty good, I think. It's a 6.43 inch Full HD Plus AMOLED display with a 90 Hz refresh rate. So again, viewing content is going to look pretty good. There is a bit of a chin, if you want to call it that, on the bottom frame. Doesn't really bother me, but just calling that out because I know people are sensitive to bezels and all that. And at the top, you can kind of see the speaker grill right up there, right above the punch hole center selfie camera there. So that's the basic rundown of the home screen and the display. We can go into the settings and check that out. You can see here it is running MIUI 13.0.2 out of the box. There is no update right now, and this is running the December security update, so December 2021 security update. And if we, from a spec perspective, like I said, you can get this with anywhere between 6 to 8 gigs of RAM and 128 to 256 gigs of storage. This is the 8 gigs of RAM version and 128 gigs of storage that I have here. And we can go ahead and check out some of the configurations and settings. So always on display and lock screen, you can see here you do have raise to wake. I like to do the double tap to wake and turn off. That's handy. And then you have the quick launch to camera, which is nice. You do have things in display. Let's go ahead and see if it's what it said out of the box. Refresh rate out of the box is 60 Hertz. So you can go ahead and move that up to 90 Hertz. Make sure we're taking advantage of that full high refresh rate there. And then you can, all your other basic display settings here. So we'll go back out here and we'll check this notification and control center. So this is where you can change this control center. So if you don't like this kind of iOS-like look, you can change it here, control center style. You can change it back to more like a stock Android look and feel that you're probably more accustomed to on Android. And then we can move into something like status bar. We can change battery indicators. I like it outside of the icon so I can clearly see how much percentage I have left. And there's a few other customization options there as well. And then we can also change our notification shade. So it's more like Android by default. Usually it's on MIUI. I just put it always to Android, but out of the box it's on Android, I guess, because this is the global version. And we can check out our home screen settings. So there's a little bit more home screen settings here. You can turn off the Google feed on the home screen if you don't like that. I like that there. It gives me a more stock Android kind of feel to it. Here's your home screen. So by default, it is classic with a grid of icons. This is where you can enable your app drawer. We can turn off things like app suggestions if you don't want that kind of stuff. And configure it a little bit more that way. Also, system navigation right now out of the box has got the traditional buttons on the bottom. I like the gestures. I'm pretty much used to swipe gestures at this point. So I'll enable swipe gestures here. And now we can just swipe around. We also gain back that bottom real estate by removing those buttons. So I like changing it to that gesture motions there. And then all your other basic kind of settings here that you can play with and further customize your home screen. And then after that, this is where you get back to the wallpapers and themes that I was showing you earlier, and there are kind of special features that MIUI is known for. So things like sidebar and floating spaces, second space, where you can have a second space that's kind of hidden for just, you know, a completely different set of applications that you want to move to on your home screen. You can control all that kind of stuff there through special features. So that's kind of just a quick walkthrough of some of the setup and the settings that you have here on MIUI 13. One more thing you might want to change out of the box is the recents menu. So by default, MIUI has this more vertical based recents menu where you can see all the apps in full screen. So it's kind of nice you can see them all. But if you want to go to more like carousel left to right look, just go back into your settings, go into home screen, and then it's down here, arrange items in recents, and you can change it back to this horizontal kind of view that's traditional to Android. And you have that more familiar horizontal kind of look to it for your recents menu. And then let's go ahead and check out the speakers. So let's go ahead and pull up something to listen to here. Let's fire up a song and let's go ahead and test out these speakers here. Pull it up, max volume. So definitely covering up the bottom speaker, it kind of muffles it as you would expect, but you can see that it does have that kind of dual speaker effect. We'll play one more song just to get a feel for what the speakers sound like with a different beat. So there you go, about what you would expect. Nothing that's going to blow you away from a speakers and volume perspective, but it's not going to be too soft enough where you can't really hear it. So speakers wise, it's pretty much on par with what you expect at this price point. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the camera app now. So let's fire that up. And this is pretty much a stock Xiaomi camera app. So you have auto, you got video here. You do have a pro mode, which is nice on this phone. So this is pro photo. You have access to all your controls right there, white balance, your focus, shutter speed, ISO, your exposure controls, as well as changing your lenses. And then you can also have pro mode for video. You just tap that and now you've got same controls for video as well, which is nice. And then you also have a standard portrait mode for that background blur effect. You can change the f-stop here, so you can increase the amount of, or decrease the amount of blur here. And let's see what we have in more. So you do have a night mode, which is nice. You got the full 108 megapixel mode. So if you want to use the full sensor, not pixel bin it down and get that full detail, that 108 megapixels, you can do that. I would suggest you only do that in very good lighting though. You have short video, panorama, documents, slow motion. So let's see slow motion and what you get out of that. And so looks like it's going to be pretty standard. I don't see any kind of special slow motion settings for any kind of additional frames per second. So pretty basic slow motion there. And then you can always edit and bring any of these down into the navigation controls as well. So let's go ahead and check out things around photo. You have HDR, you have AI modes. You also have, let's see, some filters as well here. And then let's check out some of the settings here. So you have time shift, time burst. You can access the macro here. You turn that on. You get access to that 2 megapixel macro lens. Probably not worthwhile. I would probably just use the main sensor and zoom in digitally. Probably gonna get better shots and better close-up macro shots that way. We can check out the video as well and see what we got here. So you have 720p at 30 frames per second or 1080p at 30 frames per second. Doesn't look like you're gonna be shooting any 4K video on this. And I think the front-facing camera is also gonna max out at 1080p, 30 frames per second as well. So let's go ahead and check out maybe some of the camera settings and what you have in here. So pretty basic. You can customize the volume buttons if you want to zoom in instead of use it as a shutter button. And that's pretty much it. So pretty basic camera app settings there. And I'm going to go ahead and try to get some camera samples and we'll come back and wrap up this video. And here's a quick sample from the front-facing cameras on the Redmi Note 11S. So I'm just going to pan around here. It's kind of around sunset, so I'm in some shade. So that could be affecting some of the picture quality here. You can see the sun behind me right now, and I'll just start walking to give you a sense for the stabilization here. But let me know what you think about the front-facing cameras here on the Redmi Note 11S. Right, so that's my unboxing and first look at the Redmi Note 11S. Again, there is a lower cost option, which is the Note 11, a higher cost model, which is the Note 11 Pro. So this sits right in the middle at $249, upwards of $299, depending on which memory and storage options you go with. Again, this is the case that it comes with. I can pop it on real quick to show you what that looks like here on the phone itself. Gives you some basic protection. It's not going to give you any kind of extreme drop protection, but it gives you something until you can get an actual case that you may prefer. That's what it's going to look like on the phone. And again, it does cover up the Type-C port on the bottom right there. So that's a nice added touch, even though this is IP53 rated. So again, I'll be doing some follow-up videos, camera comparisons like I always do. So if there's any smartphones you want to see this compared to camera-wise, I'll try to do that and make it happen if I have it. I'll also do some follow-up videos to let you know how this is performing over time. Any other questions or comments about this phone, drop them below. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.